Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is kind of having a moment right now, eh? There was, of course, Percival Everett's book James, which is a retelling of Huck Finn from Jim's point of view. And now there's a graphic novel, Big Jim and the White Boy, by writer David Walker and illustrator Marcus Kwame Anderson. It is, again, a reimagining of Huck Finn with a greater emphasis on Jim's story. And it's interesting to have these multiple points of view on Jim's story because NPR's Scott Simon asks the two of them in this interview, are Huck and Jim really friends? I'm not sure if I agree with their answer, but it's an interesting take on the complexities of being human. That's after the break.
This message comes from Capital One, offering commercial solutions you can bank on. Now more than ever, your business faces unique challenges and opportunities. That's why Capital One offers a comprehensive suite of financial services, all tailored to your short and long-term goals. Backed by the strength and stability of a top 10 commercial bank, their dedicated experts work with you to build lasting success. Explore the possibilities at CapitalOne.com/commercial, a member FDIC.
Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn has been praised, popular, banned, and assailed since it was published in 1884. It's been called bold, lyrical, and anti-racist, and also a profane book that promotes racial stereotypes. Huck, Jim, and their travels have been reimagined in a new graphic novel, Big Jim and the White Boy. David Walker has written the story, and Marcus Kwame Anderson, the illustrator, join us now. Gentlemen, thank you both for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me ask you both, beginning with you, Mr. Walker, and then Marcus Kwame Anderson. Why was it vital to you to reimagine the story of Huck, Finn, and Jim?
I read Adventures of Huckleberry Finn when I was probably 10 or 11 years old and saw at least one or two of the movies. And while I enjoyed them, for myself as a young black kid, Jim felt sort of one-dimensional. He didn't feel like a fully formed character. And it just sort of stuck with me. And then as I grew as a creator, as a writer, it was just an idea. I was like, I'd like to tell the story of Jim in a way that I would love to see it or love to read it, as opposed to what I was given when I was a child.
It was important for a lot of the same reasons, just adding to the completeness of the history that we're telling, adding pieces that weren't necessarily present in the original story.
Have you turned Huckleberry Finn into an action and adventure story?
I think so, yeah. Part of it is I just love to see the way Marcus draws action and adventure in, the comic form. And, you want to see some fight sequences and fun things like that. And so I wanted to make sure that this book would not be boring to people.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of, fun portraying the action and adventure, and it adds a certain dynamic element to the story that keeps it interesting, along with all of the history. It also conveys the danger of the world that Jim is operating in and moving through, so to us it just felt natural for that action to be there.
I was going to ask you, Mr. Anderson, Jim's a superhero in this telling, isn't he?
He's a superhero, but he is a mortal man. And, one of the things that I speak about when I speak about, the history of enslaved people and black people in this country, every individual was making impossible choices and decisions every day. And so with that, there was a certain level of resourcefulness that everybody had to have. It's like the perfect opportunity to take this character of Jim, who was so underutilized, and to also add these other dimensions and, make him a folk hero. It was a fun challenge.
He's searching for his family, too, isn't he?
Yeah. The core mission for their adventure is to find his family.
Yeah. David Walker, I was, among many lines, struck by one in which Jim says, and I'll quote your words, "Hell, you can't be a Negro in this country and not know how to put on a show, especially back then. So that's what I did. I put on a show."
Yeah, that was, not that I would ever compare myself to James Baldwin, but I think that was me channeling all the influences that James Baldwin had. And when you just study the history of enslaved Africans and their descendants in this country, they had to present themselves in a way to white people that made the people who owned them and who were oppressing them feel comfortable and safe. These are some of the things that my grandfather and my grandmother would talk to me about, the things that they had to do growing up in the Jim Crow South.
I want to approach this carefully, but ask you both. You use the N-word in this book, and I won't give away how, but you say it is important that that word not be banned or scrubbed from our language. Why?
Well, we had some very serious conversations about this early on in the production of the book, and part of it is that word was so commonly used for a long time. And when you're talking about something that's set within the context of slavery and the Civil War, I think it's important that we get into some of the more harsh, darker realities of that time and not try to change it, not trying to sugarcoat it. And when we're telling narratives that are dealing with the enslaved, I think the last thing we should be doing is trying to do the Margaret Mitchell effect. We shouldn't be trying to do what she did with Gone with the Wind, which is to make it seem like every slave was complacent and happy with their scenario, and that slave owners were really, truly great people who loved their property. That's how the enslaved were treated. They were property. They were treated as less than human. And I think that anything that we do as creators that tries to lessen that impact really becomes a disservice to the real life people who went through terrible things.
Let me ask you both. Are Huck and Jim truly friends, or is there just too much that separates them for that?
That's an interesting question because Mark Twain, at the time when he was writing his story, many of his characters were based on real people. One of them being Daniel Quarles, who was an enslaved man who was owned by Mark Twain's uncle. As much as Mark Twain considered him to be a friend, there is a barrier. When we think about our friendships, it's very much based on agency and choice. And, that's one of the central problems with slavery is a lack of agency. So in our story, I would say that they are friends.
Yeah, I agree with Marcus. That was a decision that I had to make as a writer, and that I had to make sure that Marcus was able to convey visually. And it was a question that I asked myself going into it. Not only, the question of, in Twain's book, were they truly friends? They refer to each other as friends, but then I had to ask myself, well, in my mind, what would that friendship look like? What is the true nature of their relationship? And I do believe that they have a complex relationship that I think comes through the art, through the visuals, just through the body language and the facial expressions that we see as they're regarding each other. But I think there's so much complexity to the human experience and to so many things tied around slavery. But at the end of the day, these are two people that are willing to die for each other. They've been through the worst experiences that anyone can go through, and they've survived it. And that's what I think makes them compelling characters, but also characters that truly love and care about each other.
Big Jim and the White Boy is the new graphic novel written by David Walker, illustrated by Marcus Kwame Anderson. Thank you both so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just a reminder that signing up for Book of the Day Plus is a great way to support NPR's book coverage and public media, and you'll get to listen to every episode sponsor-free. So please go find out more at plus.npr.org/Book of the Day.
This message comes from Warby Parker. What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost, like free adjustments for life. Find your pair at warbyparker.com or visit one of their hundreds of stores around the country. This message comes from NPR sponsor Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell and show up exactly the way you want to. Customize your online store to your style. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/NPR.
This message is brought to you by Lisa in collaboration with West Elm. Discover the new natural hybrid mattress, expertly crafted from natural latex and certified safe foams, designed with your health and the planet in mind. Visit leesa.com to learn more.